Hello everybody, Carol here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be making another card from the SSS Stamp September card kit. I've already made 10 cards, one kit, and I'll have that linked at the end so that you can see it if you want to. But I wanted to make a card with this treasure chest, and I just think it's so cute. And I had made one, but I wanted to make one more. And so I'm also using a little bird stamp from my stash. It's a little, I'm considering it a little parrot. And so I stamped those off. I'm going to color them. I used, on the treasure chest, I used every brown or shade of brown colored pencil that I had, just to kind of give some variety to this chest and some color accents. I kind of go back and blend them all together a little bit, just to try to make it interesting. I finally ended up devoting all my time to the chest on the left and to get it done. And I go back with the gold in a little while and color in the little gold pieces and the gold hardware around the edges where the key goes in, and the corner pieces and all of that. So anyway, trying to get some highlights with that brown there. And then I color the bird, and I'm making very colorful like a parrot, and I give him orange wings because I'll have an orange background sheet here in a minute and you will see that. So red, orange, blue, and green to make him as colorful as I can. Now I go back and cut these out, and I'm not going to bore you with all the cutting, but just to show you that I really did do it. And when I go back and take a Millennium pen, a black pen, to color up some of the black lines that, highlight some of the black lines that get covered with the colored pencil. I thought maybe if I put that little parrot back in to where I had cut him out from, that it might be easier to keep him steady. And so I just want to go over his little eye and make it darker and make it stand out. And on the treasure chest, I wanted to go over the lines of the wood, and because they kind of get colored over also and don't stand out as much. So get that done, cut them out, and set them aside, get them ready to glue on. Now the next thing I wanted to do was to make a treasure map to go to this wonderful hidden treasure by the sea. So I had to just kind of imagine what it would look like. I used a piece of tan cardstock. I'm just cutting it up as much as I can. I gave it wavy edges to start with. I cut out little slivers, teeny tiny triangles. I cut slits and bend some of those pieces of paper over. And then I figured the map is going to be rolled up. So I started rolling it at the top, and then I unrolled it to punch a hole. I thought this thing is just going to have been rolled up so many times and carried so many times it has holes in it. So I punched a hole, then I rolled it back up, and I did it with my scissors, of course, you can see, and then I rolled it back up and pinched it down, and I'm just cutting a tiny little sliver to make it really look worn and torn. So I'm using my neutral ink there with a makeup sponge and coloring it on the top, and unrolled it and colored it on the bottom for anything that might be poking through. And then I decided to go back and try to send that paper back out some more and cover those out. So you know, with the ink, so that they won't look like just brand new paper. It will look worn and tattered and discolored all over. I even flipped it over and colored the back part, the back side that might be exposed, and turned up as I'm doing right now, so that when they're turned up and you can see them again, it won't look like brand new paper. It's going to look as aged and weathered as the rest of the map. I even tried to get into some of those little slits and put some dark ink on that. It was kind of fun playing with that though. So now I'm drawing my lines that would lead to the treasure, and make it as curvy and as difficult as it can be to find. And so I start off with a circle at the top denoting you are here. And I don't try to make it a perfect circle because I figure there's somebody making this map that didn't try to do it perfectly. And in the middle of that circle, I put a dot. When I get down to the end of my curvy lines, I will have another circle and put an X in the middle. X marks the spot. So there you have your little treasure map. Then I also decided to do, to kind of fill in some space there, a little compass. I looked at a compass and tried to do some of the things they did. I didn't try to make it elegant or complicated, just the north, south, east, and west with crossing lines, and then put 2 more lines crisscrossing over those with kind of little points at the end, similar to what I had seen, and even went back to a little highlighting with a jelly roll pen, a white one. So anyway, I need to get rid of all these old pencil marks, and using my eraser there, and then I decide I really want this to look even more weathered and more handled and older and worn out. In this case, probably, I mean, it's possible that a paper sack, a brown paper sack, would have been a better kind of paper to use. I'm highlighting this with that same neutral ink, and this is called Sahara Sand, and trying to hit the highlights of those hills and valleys and wrinkles and creases and bent places. And the paper sack would have been easier to bend and fold for sure. I don't know what it would have looked like in the end, but anyway, tried to make it look like a map. Get a little close-up picture here that you can see. I even colored in some waves. There are the holes at the top of the scroll down, the roll down, and there are the little crude and rude ocean waves just to depict that there's water nearby. Now I put more Tombow Mono Multi glue than I usually do. I'm just trying to hit the high parts of the map so that when I glue them down, they'll stick. And set it aside. So here we are. This is a 4.5 by 6 1/4 inch card. That's the card base. I put the ink all around the edges of the orange. I'm going to put the orange down that I had mentioned earlier to match the parrot's wings. Then I'm going to put down a piece of black because I just think that's kind of piratey looking and also fallish looking. So I'm just setting it down there temporarily, kind of getting my placement for the treasure chest and the map. And then there's also a stamp in the set that's seaweed. So I stamped and cut out some seaweed, and I'll be tweaking this and moving it around. But I liked the contrast of the white with the orange and the black and the kind of khaki colored or caramel color. And so I'm putting them down in the corners, and as I said, I'll end up moving those in a little while, and you'll see that. And go ahead and secure that map. Now the little bird, when I go to put him on, I was going to have him at the top of the map, which would mean he would only be held on by those little teeny tiny skinny legs, and I didn't think it was enough to support him. So I put some foam mounting tape on the back of him to help support him off that black paper up on the map, and that wasn't even enough. He still didn't reach the background sheet, so I put another piece of foam tape on top of that to get him up even higher, and that gets him nice and level with where his legs are on the map and where his body is on the background. So I'm using some long tweezers so that I can see where I want to position him, and even at that I have to wiggle it around a little bit. But I found the place, and as you know, once that foam tape hits, it's hard to move it. So I'm going to zoom in, and you will see that I have a little bit of that foam tape exposed where you can see it, and I go back and cut that off later so that that does not show. Now the last thing I'm going to do on this card, besides tweaking the seaweed down there at the bottom, is to take the little sequins that are also in this kit, and I'm just using this Tombow glue to just put dots all around, and that's where I'm going to put the sequins. So I don't have one of those little pickup sticks or whatever they're called, and I thought, well, I'll just use this stump. I tried a crochet hook because it has a rounded edge end on it, but it didn't work as well, and this little stump worked really well. I just stamped it into the sticky ink and then stabbed the sequin and put it down, and it worked just really fine. I didn't have the packaging to show you on this stump. It comes in all different sizes. You can get a kit of various sizes because I'd given it to my husband to work on some things that he does. And so anyway, but this is one that you can tell it's been used, but the ink is dried. It's not transferring at all, and that's a pretty fat stump. There are some that are very, very thin. So, but I'm just going back. It's worked really well, and I'm just stabbing these little sequins and putting them down on the little dots of glue. And I just want it to look as if this gold treasure is just spilling out on the treasure, out of the treasure chest, and it has already spilled out onto the sand, just there ready for the taking. And before it's all done, I end up putting some more sequins trickling on down the page. And there are 3 sizes of sequins in this kit. There you go. But I chose the smallest ones. I thought they really fit the size and proportion well. So that is the card. I hope you enjoyed. It's simple, but it's fun, and I like the colors, especially this time of year in the fall. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed, and you'll give something like this a try. And you can come up with your own things if you don't have a stamp for it. But there will be some other videos at the end that if you would like to see, and a subscribe button. So thank you so much for joining me. See you later.